Good, buddy.
This is Rockin' with Jam Man, and today I'm joined by UFC lightweight, the Phenom Evan Elder. So how you doing?
I'm doing good, brother. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure for you to be on my show. You're actually one of the first athletes I've ever interviewed.
Awesome, man. It's a big pleasure and honor for me. Let's go.
Mhm. So when did you first realize you wanted to fight for a living, and like what age was that moment?
Man, I always say it goes back to about like 6 years old. I remember watching the fight with my stepdad and us always, thinking, man, what if that was me up there on the screen one day? And I felt like ever since then, God really put that calling on my heart to be UFC world champion. So it's been about since 6 years old, but I didn't get the opportunity to really start training until my school first offered wrestling. So it was about seventh grade, and my dad put me into wrestling. And then after that, after wrestling for about 2 years, we found an MMA gym and been on the MMA journey since then.
So what kept you from quitting early on?
Um, Really just there was never really a question of quitting for me. It was just a burning desire in my heart to pursue this calling that I felt like I had. And of course, things got tough, and there was all kinds of difficulties and trials and tribulations and setbacks and obstacles, whatever. But um, it just always made sense to me that that was to be expected, and that's kind of part of doing something great. Is it's supposed to be extremely hard, and you're gonna want to quit, but you can't. So, yeah, the only thing that you're going to guarantee by quitting or giving up is that you're not going to make it to where you wanted to be. So it just always made sense that like quitting was never an option.
So you never doubted yourself in those first couple of years ever?
Oh yeah, doubted for sure.
Oh.
Doubted's a whole different conversation. But the idea of quitting or giving up is a separate idea in my mind. I think that I've doubted my whole entire career, my whole life, or whatever, just like because of the uncertainty of the future. Nothing's promised. Who knows that, knock on wood, and I pray to God that this isn't the truth, but who knows that I don't freaking fall and break my neck walking down the stairs tomorrow or something like that. None of it's promised. So I think there's always a sense of like doubt or uncertainty. But again, it just goes back to that same idea of like never giving up. It's like it doesn't matter what amount of fear or doubt or uncertainty you have. It's you just have to do the best with what you can and keep moving forward.
Well, who was the first person that really made you believe that you could make it?
Hmm. Um, I feel like like I said, this dream kind of started with my stepdad, and he was always kind of like my supporter. I've always had a great support from my family, but as far as like the dream of fighting, I had a lot of my family was kind of resistance to it. I didn't understand that at first. I figured that like, why wouldn't everybody want to support me on this thing that I want to do? Now I understand from the outside looking in and kind of looking back, I'm like, yeah, it's probably just a really risky thing to do. Probably would have been smarter to play it safe, go to school, get a good job, something like that. But I would say my stepdad has always really been a huge supporter of me and encouraged me and helped me to believe that like I could do this. And then professionally though, I really think that Michael Chandler played a big role in me believing in myself and believing that a small town kid because we grew up very close, small towns close by. And I think Michael Chandler was the first really big name, like professionally, that made me believe, like, damn, dude, this stuff like is really possible.
Now, what was just so special about fighting that pulled you in?
So special. You know what? I think that innately, like without me actually knowing, I think that I understood that it was going to be the thing that pushed me to become the greatest version of myself. I think that's why I looked at UFC fighters and the people that I was watching on the TV. I held them to such a high esteem and really looked at them like that was the pinnacle of achievement to be the best fighter in the world. What it would take for you to what you would have to go through and the person that you would have to become to get to that position would ultimately make me the man that that I needed to be in order to do anything and everything that I wanted in life. So I think that's what always called me. Obviously, I didn't know it consciously to that level or had the ability to articulate that back when I was 6 years old, whenever this dream first kind of arose in my heart. But I think that now, I think that's what I understood subconsciously back then, and that's what always kind of attracted me to it.
Now, when did you actually start training seriously?
I would say probably like 14. It was after my 2 year wrestling stint. So I wrestled for seventh and eighth grade year, and then we found an MMA gym, just a small local MMA gym in Festus, Missouri. I'm from Hillsborough, Missouri, so it's just like one town down. And I started training MMA then, about 14 years old, somewhere around then, and pretty much never looked back. And that's really just every day. That's all I thought about. I wasn't able to train all day long or anything like that. I had to work. I had to go to school. I had to work a job at some points and stuff like that. But it was always my single-minded focus at that point. Hey, bro, I'm losing you. You're cutting out really bad. I don't know if that's me or you, but can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. I think it's just the camera.
Can you see that? Can you see it happening?
I saw like a little bit of static. I don't know how bad it is for you.
On my end on your screen, it's like crazy staticky.
Oh,
But as long as it's working for you, I'm good. I just couldn't hear you for a minute.
oh, okay. Here, I'll just turn off the video maybe. All right. I don't know what that was about. Sorry. That I
No,
just
no, no, you're good. What is this? What is this picture here?
oh, what is it? Michael Swain. It's just a
That's hilarious.
yeah.
That's hilarious. Try turning the camera back on now. See if it corrected it or fixed it.
All right. No.
Still a little staticky. You can see that?
Yeah, I can see it now. Like at
Yeah.
first for like I just saw a little static and then it went away from me. So I don't know how bad it was for you.
Yeah. No, it's all good. It's not messing me up as long as I can hear you. So
Yeah, yeah. I was hoping that you didn't say it. I was like, huh, what is he thinking right now?
yeah, it was just I mean, it's not bothering me at all. I just
Yeah, I got it.
for a second it got so bad that I couldn't even hear you. So I was just trying to make sure we were good.
Hmm. So what I was saying was like obviously you were in high school at the time. Did you ever want to play any other sports or did you play any other sports at the time?
I did play football for a little bit, but I really wasn't. I kind of did it because all my friends did it, and it was fun, dude. I wish so bad I could go back and play football now, with the same mindset and passion for life that I have. But at the time, I really only cared about MMA, and whenever I was playing football, I just kind of half-assed it, and I you know, I would like pull away from some tackles and stuff. I was a little afraid of getting hurt because my mind was so focused on MMA because I was like, dude, I'm gonna be pissed if I get hurt out here on the field and then I can't go to training and go practice MMA because that's all I cared about.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that was the only sport I ever played. I wrestled, played football, and then MMA. Ever since I started MMA, that was like the only thing I wanted to do.
So was there a moment early on where you thought I could definitely go far with this?
Yeah, ever since I was young, I've just always believed in the potential of each individual, us as human beings. I've just really believed that God has given us all gifts, and it's our job to steward those gifts. And if we work as hard as we possibly can, that there is truly unbelievably great things in store for each and every single one of us. So I've always believed that it was almost inevitable. I've always wanted to be undeniable, work as hard as I possibly can, treat everybody well, and do whatever is asked of me. And I've always thought about, in that sense, making myself undeniable. And that would bring forth these gifts that I believe that God has given us all. So, um, going back to what we were saying earlier about the like uncertainty, you asked if I had any like disbelief and stuff like that. There's still always disbelief of like, man, it's hard to believe that some small town kid in the middle of nowhere uh, could grow up to be the greatest fighter in the world. Um, but I do truly, truly believe that if we truly dedicate ourselves fully to anything in life, that we should be able to make anything happen. And that's always been one of my goals too, is to be that person for people in my situation that might not have a reason to believe that, like, man, I'm just a small town kid, I don't have all the financial backing, of super wealthy parents, or the ability to make it to the best gym in the world, or any other excuse that we could come up with. I always wanted to be that guy that gave everybody the ability to believe that, like, hey, if that guy could do it, I could too. And that's still a big goal of mine. So that's going to be a big part of me being the best in the world. So is going to be to inspire the next generation and everybody in a similar situation to me, that they can do anything that you put your mind to.
So, what is the hardest part of training that people don't see?
Uh, I don't know, man. Obviously the physical difficulty is probably what's like perceived from the outside of, like, man, it's got to be so tough. You got to push yourself so hard. Your cardio's got to be so good. You got to be exhausted. You're getting beat up constantly. And that stuff is hard for sure. That's a giant part of what makes the sport hard. But I think what's truly hard is is all the other sacrifices. For me, it's been like moving away from home since I was 19, not getting to spend a lot of time with my family, and missing a lot of time with the people that I love most. And I think that that's it's just one of the many sacrifices that come with being great at anything. Particularly fighting, most likely, because I think that you really have to pursue high quality training, and that's not going to be just wherever. It's going to be in specific locations at great gyms, or traveling the country, traveling the world to find different looks and different philosophies and training partners and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess I would say one of the biggest difficulties that people don't see is all of those sacrifices, the time spent away from your loved ones, the uh the awesome opportunities to go out and live life, and like to go party and hang out with friends, and um do all the stuff that people generally find fun and cool. Um you have to deny a lot of that stuff. You have to sacrifice. That's part of the sacrifice. So not only is it the sacrifice physically of pushing yourself to your limits, but it's also the sacrifice of quality time with the people you love most, and missing out on a lot of the temporary fun of life in order to pursue something much greater.
Now, have you ever hit a point where you almost broke?
Oh yeah, for sure, dude. I think those are always, for me at least, it's always been the times whenever you break are like the breakthrough
Hmm.
periods. Almost like I like to think about it like a video game. Like, bro, that's whenever you level up. It takes a breaking point. It takes you being broken to have a breakthrough. So, hitting rock bottom is a solid foundation to build off of. So sometimes you got to get broken down so you can get rebuilt. And every single time that that's happened in my life, and it's happened at least a handful of occasions where I was like truly thought that, I was throwing in the towel, maybe not entirely as in the sense of like, okay, I'm giving up on everything, but like thought that whatever my current plan was completely failed. And now I got to go back to the drawing board and start again. And for one, I believe that a lot of time God uses those situations to course correct us and to make sure that we get where we're supposed to go. So, my bad. I don't know if you heard that. I got my phone on. Turn that off. But I think God that gosh dang it. I think God uses those moments whenever we're truly broken to course correct us and to make sure that we get onto the path that we're supposed to be on. So maybe you fall apart and you're broken, so you decide this is a time that I have to change something, and then when you do that, it puts you on the path that's going to more closely get you to where you're wanting to try to go. So definitely plenty of times wherever you feel like being broke or giving up. So I would say that people shouldn't fear that it's inevitable. Every single person that's achieved greatly has had plenty of failures and times they fell flat on their face. But the one thing that defines those people, the winners, the people that end up making it to where they want to be, is that every single time that one of those things happens, they pick themselves up and they dust them off and they get back on track with whatever it is, whatever they believe the next best step is, they get right back on track with it. And they never let them, they never let that thing, that breakdown, keep them down. So yeah, broken moments and throwing in the towel and stuff like that is going to happen. Having those failures and the setbacks and everything are inevitable. But as long as you never give up, it's just truly a part of the process.
How many hours a day are you putting in during a fight camp?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that kind of varies because I would imagine the question that you're asking is like, how many physical hours of like actual training am I doing a day? And that could vary. I would imagine anywhere from like, if you just have one good session, some days you only have one session and, it might be an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. Um, and then a lot of days you have two sessions and it might be an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours times two. So anywhere from an hour to 4 hours, of like actually physically training. But there's also all the recovery side, the warming up, showing up early to get your warm up in, cool down, stretching afterwards, going and doing your PT, getting massages, doing recovery, stretching, hot tub, cold tub, sauna, red light, all these other things, on top of going home, cooking your food, making sure you got the right the meals so you can be cutting weight and recovering properly. So there's a lot of things that go on off the mats outside of the gym, So the actual physical training, you're probably training anywhere between 1 to 4 hours a day, but there's a lot. It's a full-time job, It's a lifestyle. You got to go home, make sure you're getting in bed early, you're eating all the right food, have your meals prepped, doing your recovery and all the other stuff. So it's like I said, 1 to 4 hours of physical training, and then the rest of the day of like making sure you're preparing for your next training session, essentially.
What does a typical training day look like for you?
Right now, like I kind of mentioned briefly just a second ago, is like show up a little bit early, 20, 30 minutes, get there early before training and do some sort of dynamic warm up to get my body loosened up and prepared for a hard go. And then, an hour to hour and a half of physical training, whether that be kickboxing, doing pads, sparring, grappling, wall work, jujitsu, wrestling type stuff, or strength and conditioning. And then generally some sort of cool down, try to do, 20, 30 minutes of something to kind of decompress your nervous system, loosen your muscles up. Don't leave with all the tightness that you just accumulated from the hard work you just put in. And then, go home, grab a meal, maybe take a 20-minute nap, something like that, and then head back and do it all again. So that's generally kind of a rundown of like, I would imagine something like 30-minute warm up, 1 hour training, 30-minute cool down. Repeat that twice a day with a meal and a nap in between. And that's generally like a day of training.
So, like before the interview, we were talking about how I'm a lacrosse player, but that's actually not my main sport. My main sport, what you mentioned even in the interview, is wrestling. So I just turned 15 and I'm training about 5 hours a day, 5 days a week. And I actually still do like MMA and kickboxing and stuff like that. And so I try to commit over 5 or 6 hours a day. What kind of advice would you give someone like me to trying to reach that level? Or at least like for personally, what I want to try to do is at least in college, try to go like in college, just wrestle in college. Do you also think that's overtraining or do you think that's what it takes?
First off, good job, dude. That's freaking awesome. That's a huge level of commitment, and I think for that reason, you'll go very far in whatever you're doing. Second off, I would say it's easy to overdo it, but I wouldn't want to tell you to back off because I think that level of commitment is what is required in order to make it far. And I think that you'll have to probably course correct along the way. For me personally, I used to do the same thing. I used to train is every hour of the day that I could. And then as you get older, your body, you accumulate miles is what we generally say, almost like you're putting a lot of wear and tear on a car, right? And unfortunately, a big part of being an athlete is mitigating the damage that your body's doing in order to be able to keep it performing at optimal performance as long as possible. So, what I would recommend to you is you have to make sure your nutrition is on point. If you're not giving your body the right fuel, not just the proper amounts, but the proper quality, your body's not going to be able to recover and repair itself the way that it needs to in order to sustain that level of output. Sleep, something I completely underestimated whenever I was younger. I thought sleep was so stupid. I hated sleeping. I was like, bro, I'm missing out on life. Like I could be training, I could be working out, I could be playing video games, I could be hanging out with my friends, I could be doing something. But sleep is the absolute foundation of mental and physical performance. So make sure that if you truly want to be the best that you can be, optimize your sleep. Um, and then make sure, number three, that you're putting in the time to give back to your body. Whenever we're training, we're beating ourselves up and breaking our body down. We have to be doing lots and lots of stuff to build ourselves back up, whether it be stretching, like some sort of yoga, or even, dude, you know what's great now is there's just so many tools on YouTube. Look up stretches for athletes, stretches for or mobility for fighters or whatever, and just start trying to do as much as you can to give back to your body after demanding so much of it. Think about hard training as taking away, it's breaking down your body. The rest and recovery is whenever you build your body back up. So we can't constantly be just depleting. We have to deplete and then replete. We have to give back to our body so we can build it back up in order to take away from it again. So, um, man, I would say keep doing what you're doing. That's freaking awesome. That's a huge level of commitment, and you're putting in a ton of work. And that itself, you're going to figure a lot out. Um, Work hard, but also work smart. I've seen some of the hardest workers I've ever seen in my whole life not even make it that far because they were unwilling to do one of the harder things, which is to figure out what the heck you should be doing in the first place. Henry Ford has a great quote that says, the hardest work of all is thinking. That's why so few people do it. If you really want to outwork people, you need to outwork people mentally. Because at the end of the day, when you get to a high level, everybody works hard. Everybody works exceptionally hard. That's not going to get you to the upper echelon of where you want to be. Everybody works hard, and then you're figuring out who works the best, who does the hard work the smartest, and makes the most progress and stuff like that. So invest in your mind, read books, listen to audiobooks, listen to podcasts, pay attention in school. All this stuff matters because you're building your intellectual ability to to ask questions and to figure out what's a better way or what's the best way that I could be spending my time and effort. So, anyways, that's a big one that I wish I would have paid more attention to is like paying attention in school, investing in my mind earlier on. I'm telling you, our brain is our most powerful muscle. Get used to exercising it. Um, and then recovery, dude. Make sure you're eating good, sleeping good, and giving back to your body with uh, proper strength and conditioning, not just working hard, but like corrective exercises, doing the boring stuff, PT type work, physical therapy, and make sure your nutrition's dialed in, eat good quality foods from the earth, not fast food, highly processed foods. Your body is your vehicle that's getting you to reach the goal that you want to be. So you have to make sure that you're putting the right fuel in it, and then make sure you're sleeping good, bro. Turn the video games off early, turn the screens off early, get in bed, bro. Think about sleeping like a champion, bro. For real. That's a big part of being a great athlete is sleeping like a champion. So yeah, man, I know it's probably quite a bit, but there's a lot that goes into being, not just a high level athlete, but just a high level human being. And but it sounds like you're on the right path, man. Really happy to hear that you're putting in a ton of work.
So, what separates the guys who make it from the ones who don't?
Two big things come to my mind immediately is the conversation we were just having earlier about the willingness to fall down, be broken, fail, and then get up and keep trying again. There's a lot of times that highly talented people, people that have all the right gifts and tools necessary in order to get where they should be, but they don't have the mental resilience to be able to overcome adversity to where whenever life punches you in the mouth and you get knocked down, you run out of money, you have, some sort, you have a relationship that falls through, you lose a family member, your original plan doesn't work out the way you thought it would, and you end up broken or questioning, if what you're doing is going to work in the first place. Being able to pick yourself back up and be like, I don't care if I know how it's going to go. I'm going to keep trying. Giving up cannot be an option. I think that that's one of the biggest separating factors is just people that they give up too early. Truthfully, you just gave up too early. Um, and then number two, what was I thinking of? I don't even remember what was the other one. What the other thing I was thinking of, but yeah, giving up too early, man. I think people just quit too early, and then can't think of the other thing I was thinking of, but I guess I would probably just say the lack of ability to truly question what they're doing. A lot of people will get into a routine of doing something that has brought you success, but it's not necessarily going to be the thing that's going to get you all the way to where you want to be. And because of a lack of an ability to question what they're doing, they just go in and do the same thing over and over and over and over again. And they expect that to get them to where all the way to where they want to be. And though something might have brought you success and got you to where you are currently, a lot of times we're supposed to level up. We get to another level, and that new level is going to come with a new understanding and a different ability to take on different challenges, to try training in a different way, to go travel and get different training, to get different or better sparring partners, whatever it may be. I think that that's something else that holds a lot of people back is just comfortability in familiarity, like being unwilling to change.
So, what's been the hardest fight of your career so far and why?
Um, Probably my UFC debut. My UFC debut, I took on 4 days notice, and it was up a weight class, which honestly, all that to me is just kind of excuses. I don't really care about it being 4 days notice, up a weight class, none of that. I think that I prepared my whole life to be able to perform even at my worst, and I definitely didn't. I fell short that night, and I showed up and brought the worst version of myself. I was let the moment get the best of me. I was shocked by the nerves that I got from being in the UFC and stuff like that. Um, so just I was physically exhausted by the time the fight started before we even started going. And then I fought 3 hard rounds after that, due to, my nerves giving me a bad adrenaline dump and stuff like that. So I think that I've had tougher matchups since then, tougher fights, but that was the hardest one just because I showed up as the worst version of myself because of my lack of mental preparation for that moment, I guess. So that's what I would say is probably my toughest fight.
Um, in a fight, did you ever feel like you were losing before?
Yeah, definitely my UFC debut.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, that fight. You mean like in the cage while I was fighting, did I
Yeah,
feel
like
like
yeah,
I was
fuck, this guy's like beating me up right now.
yeah, my UFC debut. I felt like that for sure. I've never felt that way in any other fight actually. Um yeah, I think that was the only fight that I've ever been like, damn, dude, this is going really bad.
Well, I don't mean to be a dick when I ask this. Did you win or lose that fight? And if you lost, how do you like, especially in a big thing like the UFC, like what I've heard from a lot of other UFC fighters, when you lose like the first couple of matches, it looks really bad. Like, how do you bounce back from losing a debut? And like what I'm trying to say is like, how are you able to stay in the UFC and then eventually climb it up and up?
Man, I think that it goes back to the same conversation we were just having about you asked what's the difference between people that make it and people that don't, is whenever you have those moments, whenever you fall flat on your face, like I definitely did. It was, I was very displeased with how that fight went, but I refused to give up. So I was like, okay, well, how am I going to grow for this? I'm not going to point fingers and say, again, like I was saying, it doesn't matter that it was on 4 days notice. It doesn't matter that it was up a weight class. That's all excuses. I should have been able to handle I should have still been able to win. And I think that having a growth mindset, the mentality of like, I'm going to take every single thing that life gives me and find a way to turn it for my advantage and to make myself better, take extreme ownership and responsibility for my life. And that if I truly want to get to where I want to be, that I have to take extreme ownership of all the circumstances and learn how to grow from them. I think a lot of people try to protect their ego and find an excuse for why what happened happened. I could have been like in that fight that it was because it was short notice of a weight class and stuff like that. But it wasn't. It was because that I performed bad. And because of that, it made me go back and question, dude, how the hell am I going to get better? Because that wasn't good enough, bro. Like you need to get better. What can we take from that? And I learned a ton from that. I got the crap beat out of me. I left with like 20 stitches in my face, had some bad cuts, and got dominated for 3 rounds. And it was a big wake up call to be like, hey, bro, you've come a long way. You made it all the way to the UFC, but like the work's just getting started, dude. Time it's not time to pull off the gas yet. So, um, yeah, I think that to overcome that mentality, that trial or tribulation that happens with like dropping the biggest moment of your career is just going back to the drawing board and being like, all right, how do I get better? Because that's all Kobe Bryant has an amazing quote that I love that he talks about basketball, they play a lot. There's a lot of games in a season. They're playing like every weekend or whatever, right? And I remember him saying that like he was like, "Oh, you won the game this weekend? Great. I'll see you at practice Monday. Oh, you lost the game this weekend? Great. I'll see you at practice Monday." It just doesn't matter. Like either way, whether you won or you lost, doesn't matter. Get back to work. And I think that that's just the mentality that you got to have in order to come back from, the setbacks that are inevitable in life. And for me in my UFC debut, that's exactly what it was. Was I was like, I was so hungry to get back to work because I was like, dude, you got to get better. You're not good enough yet, bro. You got to get better. So that's what I would say is and then having the belief that like, hey, just because this one thing happened, just because I failed this one time doesn't make me a failure. I'm not a failure. Like I'm gonna win. I'm going to succeed. I'm going to win. I don't care how hard life tries. I know that God has a plan for me, and if I truly give my best, I'm going to live out my destiny, and that's going to be greater than I can ever imagine as long as I refuse to ever give up and I always continue to do my absolute best.
Now, like we've mentioned before, you are a lightweight fighter, and people who watch the UFC, and like I told you, I train the arts and I know watch the UFC. The lightweight division is a pretty stacked weight class. Having the ability to be going against people like Max Holloway, Charles Oliveira, does that stuff affect you at all? Or do you try to motivate yourself in a way when you know eventually you might have to face these guys? Especially like another big name like Ilya Topuria, Justin Gaethje, stuff like that.
Yeah, man, it's definitely nerve-wracking because you're like, I watch these guys and it's the guys that I look up to think that like, oh, this is what I'm aiming to be, right? I hope that I'm trying to get as good as they are, right? And so whenever you get there, there's a lot of times that you get either what people call imposter syndrome, like, oh my God, how, like who am I to be at the same level of these guys that I idolized, right? Um, or just hold somebody to such a high esteem that whenever your rivals, your idols become your rivals, it's easy to get lost in the moment to be like, oh my God, I'm fighting, Max Holloway or whatever it is. I think that you have to have a belief going in that you're going to get there. And once you get there, you have an understanding of that's probably going to happen. My brain's probably going to want to psych me out and be like, oh my God, you're fighting this guy you looked up to your whole life. But that's because you have earned the right to be there through the insane amount of hard work and dedication that you put in. You've earned the right to be in the cage with that guy. And now to flip that and inverse it, I would say that it's not really, I'm sure there's going to be a pressure. There's always going to be a pressure. There's always going to be a fear of failure, a fear of getting hurt, whatever it may be. But if we can find the good in the moment, dude, what a fucking blessing that I get to be challenging myself against a dude that I've looked up to my whole life, or I'm getting tested up against one of the best in the world because I'm also one of the best in the world. I've earned the right to be in that position to where I'm fighting the best people in the world because of the hard work that I've put in. So I think that that's what the way you would have to approach those types of moments.
So when you're walking to the cage, what's your mindset? Like Sean Strickland once said, like in a one interview, like when we're in there, we're trying to kill each other. Is that what's really in your mind? Like when you're in that cage, do you really want to like try to kill this person? Is that what you're feeling?
Yeah, unfortunately, man, it's that's the game we play. That's the rawness of it and the truth of the sport. And that's why I love it so much, dude, is because that's why the camaraderie and the respect directly afterwards is so amazing because we are literally when we're in there is I have to kill you before you kill me. Like that's really the idea is I'm going to try to kick you in the head and separate you from your consciousness. And I know that you're planning to do the same thing and I expect nothing less of you.
Mhm.
And because of that, you're challenging me to push myself to be the greatest version of myself. And for that, I respect you and I commend you because I know how much I put into being uh what all it took to get me to the level that I'm at. And you must have been doing the same stuff. So my hat's off to you. But right now, this is my moment and I gotta kill you before you kill me.
So before fights, do you like to study your opponents heavily, watch multiple tapes, watch their fights, or do you like to focus just on yourself and focus on your own game, your own just style of going in there?
Both. I think that I love studying film. I think that it makes you familiar with the guy. Uh, I know some people say that like they don't like to watch film because it makes them nervous about the fight and stuff. And I think those nerves are inevitable. It's not anything to be worried about. That you're almost hiding from the challenge of overcoming that fear. But also, I just think that you're missing out on a gigantic resource of like I get to visualize what this guy's going to look like when I get to fight him. Why would I not take advantage of trying to prepare myself as much as possible to know as much as I can about my opponent, about this guy that's going to try to kill me, So, but then also at the same time, you can't over prepare to where you can't over analyze to the point of you're only worried about what they are going to do. I think a lot of the key lies in analyzing your opponent, figuring out how you are going to win the fight. What skills and tools do I need to use in order to beat this guy? And then focusing on implementing your game plan as opposed to trying to defend what they're going to do or be too caught up in their game plan.
So when you're in a fight, and I mean, sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't happen for a while. When you get rocked or wobbled, what are you feeling in that moment? And to go off of that question, when you rock somebody or when you know you got them hurt, what are you feeling in that moment?
When you get rocked, I think that it's kind of like turning the TV off for a second. It's like everything goes black and then you come back really quick and then it feels all staticky. Your legs might be a little wobbly. You can't really hear stuff real well. You feel like you're spinning a little bit. It's a super crazy moment. And for the most part, what I'm thinking of is protect myself, like make sure not to get hurt again because you're really susceptible to being put out at that point and just recollect your composure. You're good. You're good. Find your way back in the fight. You're good. And then before you know it, you're um, back to normal. And then you can work back in the fight. And then on the flip side of that, whenever you have that guy rocked, um, I try not to throw caution to the wind and make any bad mistakes just because I'm too excited. I think that if I stay patient and stay calm, and obviously maybe pour the pressure on a little bit more because I have them in a compromised position, but not taking myself out of my element and doing the things that caused me to get to that place in the first place. If I hurt you, a lot of times it's because I was doing the right thing. So if I just continue to do the right thing still, I'm going to hurt you again and again and again and again, and eventually I'm going to put you out.
In a fight, would you rather have a one round knockout, first round knockout, or would you rather have a complete domination of your other opponent?
That's actually a good question because I would still definitely say the one round knockout,
Of course,
the first round knockout.
uh,
But uh, but I like that question because the 3 round domination kind of you get to exhibit that you are far superior. Like
yeah,
you get to showcase your skill set to show that I am a way better fighter. Um, if you knocked a guy out in the first round, maybe people would think, or maybe you would even think that man, maybe I just caught the guy, maybe I got lucky. But if you just show that you dominate the guy from bell to bell for 3 rounds, then you're just obviously the superior fighter. So I would definitely take the first round knockout still, but that is a good question because I think the showing of superiority through domination would be almost just as good.
who's the hardest that who's the hardest person that has ever hit you? Like who hits the hardest in a fight?
In a fight,
Or just like regardless in your life, if you want to answer that.
even in training and stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, Jean Silva, cracks. He hits super hard. I love that dude. He's a freaking psychopath in the best way. I'm a huge fan of him, and he hits extraordinarily hard. I've been hit hard a lot by a lot of guys. I think Christos Yagos hits pretty damn hard. Uh, there's a guy that I train with now, Levon. Levon is one of the hardest hitters that I've ever trained with. I have a hard time pronouncing his last name. He's a Georgian. Levon, man, I forget how to say his last name. I'll look him up real quick because I got to give this dude a shout out. He's one of the best martial artists I've ever trained with in my whole life. And you definitely should be on the lookout because he's got to be getting to the UFC soon. Chokaheli.
Heli.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the right way to pronounce his last name. And Levon, I apologize. But it's Chokheli. Levon Chokaheli.
So one question about like up and coming stars and like in fighting, do you really think club bit like talk ability should really matter or just like how much fame you can bring? Like what I'm trying to say is like with Gabe, like Gabe Stevenson, he just got signed to the UFC and he's only been in like 3 fights, but he's obviously gonna bring some money to the UFC now. He's gonna bring some attention. Do you really think that does matter, or your fighting skills should be the one speaking for you?
Both. I mean, it's obviously it has to be your fighting skills. Like you could talk all the trash you want, but if you're getting slept, people are just gonna think you're a dork. So it doesn't matter. Josh Hokit is a good example of that. I was tired, I was like getting fed up with his antics this whole past week. And then I watched him fight and I was like, damn, that was sick. Now I'm like, that dude backed up all the stuff that he was saying. So it's kind of cool. I think that it's true with anything in life, especially when it comes to not anything in life, but the business side of anything in life is going to be the more that you sell, the more that you should get paid. So if you are able to put butts in seats and sell more tickets and get more eyes on the sport, they're probably going to pay you more because from a business standpoint, you're helping them make more money so they can give you more money. And it's not always equal parts of how well you fight to how well you get paid
Yeah.
because you could be the best fighter in the world and nobody know of you. And if you're not making a business money, they're not going to want to pay you money. So, yeah, I think it goes both ways, but obviously your fighting skills have to be the main priority because, like I said, you could be the best shit talker in the world, but going out and getting knocked out and ain't
Right.
nobody care.
Um, if you weren't fighting, what do you think you would be doing?
Well, I went to college for one semester after school,
Mhm.
before I decided that was not for me and I wanted to for sure just pursue this full time. Um, and I was going to be a special education teacher. That's really been the only other thing that God's put on my heart to that I've really had a calling for is I have a lot of people in my life that I know that have some sort of mental or physical disability, and they're truly some of the most amazing people that I know, and I just have a special place in my heart for people that were dealt a tough hand. Um, and would love to give back in some way in that area. So that would be a good option. But truthfully, at this point, I've just fallen in love with life. I love learning. I love just life in general. I think I'd be pretty cool, pretty happy doing anything as long as I feel like I'm truly getting the opportunity to challenge myself and try to be the best that I can be. I think that's the only thing that would hold me back from enjoying anything that I'm doing in life is feeling like I'm stagnant and I'm not really getting the most out of my time here that I can. So I think that we can have true impact in any place that we are, and every single person's life matters on this planet. So um, you can make an impact anywhere and with anyone. So yeah, I think some sort of I mean, at this point now, I would probably just be a coach. I can't wait to be a coach after my career is over. So that's probably what I would be doing at this point. But if we were rewinding and I never really got to this point, if I had to choose another career path, I can't truly say, but I would probably have to say, I probably would have gone down the path of like some sort of special education, but who knows where that would have taken me.
Now, obviously, being a professional fighter, that has to make you feel good sometimes, like walking out in public thinking, yeah, I could handle myself. But like, how do you handle yourself without getting too egotistical, and how do you make yourself humble sometimes? Like, of course, you're not gonna go walk out in the hallway, like walk in the middle of the street and like, yeah, I could beat anyone's ass when you probably could. But like, how do you stay humble? Is like the question.
My faith is a big thing.
Uh,
I think that I think about serving a lot that um that no matter how good I get, for one, it was a gift from God that I shouldn't really brag about something that was given to me. How could you brag about how could you brag about something that was given to you that you didn't earn it necessarily? And I think just putting yourself in that mindset is a great way to stay humble. Hey, remember that no matter how hard you worked, this was only possible because of the gifts God gave you, and it is your responsibility to steward those gifts and to help other people to do the same. But anyways, I would say it's and outside of that, outside of spiritually, is just that the sport that I'm in, if you put yourself around people that are constantly pushing you, it's easy for me to stay humble because I'm losing rounds. I'm getting submitted. I'm getting touched on the feet. It's not like I'm flawless. I'm not perfect. I'm not steamrolling all my training partners. I see how every single day when I go in the gym, there's rounds that I lose. There's times when I get beat up, and there's still so much work to be done. And then, of course, when it comes to like walking out into the general public, like a regular civilian, they would have no ability to like defend themselves in a physical fist fight, some sort of physical altercation. But honestly, I don't that I just don't even really even think about that stuff because also at the same time, if that was the case, like for one, I don't think there's much to be proven from winning a fist fight with somebody that doesn't train. Like, obviously if for some reason somebody starts a problem, you know, I think that it would be easy to finish that problem. But on the other side of that too, I just think that there's no real benefit. And who knows if that person's got a freaking weapon, and it's too many things go wrong, to where it's not even worth playing that game. But yeah, definitely 100% it feels good to be able to be confident to where I know that if something happened, I'm not that worried about defending myself. And but I think about the humility thing is just putting yourself around people that are just as good or better than you. And it's not that hard to stay humble because you are constantly aware of like how much more you have to go.
Now, since you said that you trained so young and now you're obviously a UFC fighter and people know you more. Now, like when I tell people that I do that stuff, like you're always going to meet that guy that's going to be like, "Oh, I could probably take you," or something like that. How do you deal? Like, does that stuff bother you? Like most of the time, I
No.
know they're kidding, and but it still gets annoying because every single like 1 in 3 people I tell they're going to be like, "I could probably take you on. I could probably beat your ass," and stuff like that.
I disagree with him. I'm just like, yeah, bro, you're probably right, dude. Like, you're probably right. I feel like it just diffuses the situation because I'm like, what is even if say this dude say you're like, hey, somebody asks you what you do and you're like, oh, I wrestle, I do MMA, whatever, and then they want to play tough guy and they're like, oh, I could probably beat your ass, whatever. Um, you beating them up doesn't really prove anything or make you better. I had a coach tell me one time, a coach that I really respect. He said that you should never get in a fist fight with somebody that doesn't train. That's not like your training partner or anything like that because you're basically telling that person that we are competing and they're not even on your level to deserve to compete with you. And that's why, think about like if Charles Oliveira was walking down the street and somebody goes like, "I'll beat your ass." You think he's going to turn around and be like, "Oh, I got to prove myself that I'm a better fighter than this guy." He would just laugh, be like, "Bro, do you know who I am? Like my actions speak so much louder than your words. I've proven that I'm far superior than you." And of course, whenever, you're young and you're starting out and maybe, in your situation, you haven't had the chance or the time yet to prove yourself. And so there might be a part of you that is constantly looking to prove yourself, but prove yourself through the stuff that matters. Prove yourself in the actual fights. Prove yourself in the gym. Prove yourself where it actually counts. You're not gonna what benefit are you gonna get paid any money for beating this dude up? Are you gonna get any better? Are you gonna improve in skill or anything like that by beating this guy up, or even wasting your time trying to convince this guy that you could beat him? It's just a waste of mental energy and effort that you could be putting towards actually getting better and beating the guys that actually matter to beat.
Um, uh, what's something fans would be surprised to know about you?
Um, I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty much an open book. I feel like I don't keep too much from people. So there's probably not too much that somebody, might not know about me. If you just knew me from my fighting career, maybe you wouldn't know that uh, I have an appetite for learning. As dorky as that is, I've fallen in love with like trying to be better in every possible way that I can. Um, Trying to think of something that would actually be surprising. Uh,
Damn.
yeah, I really don't have a great answer for that, but yeah, I guess you know what? I guess the thing that would be surprising is that I'm very multifaceted in the sense of like I'm not just a fighter. I think a lot of people just think of like, oh, this person is this thing, and they put you in a box of like you wouldn't expect a fighter to also be super loving and passionate about other things in life, or dedicated to learning and improving their mind, whatever. But yeah, that's probably it, dude.
Now, people a lot like in the UFC like to say wrestling is one of the best bases for the UFC, and that's probably what's like the number one thing. Now, being a UFC fighter, do you really think that's true, or do you think there is something better than just wrestling as just the number one base for mixed martial arts?
I mean, I think that it's proven that it's one of the best bases for sure. Um, but I think there's plenty of people that don't have a wrestling background or at least a high level wrestling background that have made it super far in the sport and even been champions. So I don't think that it's like crucial but I will say I do think that the way wrestlers train, the toughness that it builds, the competition reps because they compete so much, they get used to competition. Um, I think there's a ton of things that work in the benefit to support the idea that wrestling is probably the best base or background for MMA. So I don't think that it has to be wrestling. I think that if you have a high level background in any combat sports, it'll probably translate pretty well. But wrestling is incredibly dominant because it does have you generally have the ability to dictate where the fight takes place, whether it's standing up or on the ground, and then controlling somebody once it gets to the ground. But like I said, there's plenty of people that have, had tons of success without it. So I
Yeah.
think that it's not like it's an end all be all. So but hey, bro, I do got to get running, man. I got to get
Oh,
out
so,
of here. I got to get back to training actually. So,
okay.
uh, I do have to pop off here.
Yeah. See you, dude.
All right, bro. Hey, it was great talking to you. I appreciate it, man. Keep kicking butt and doing all the right stuff, man. If there's ever any way I can help, let me know. Hit me up any questions or anything like that. And I'll leave you with one of my favorite quotes because I think that it's really inspirational and true. But Marcus Aurelius, if you don't know who he is, you should look him up. Marcus Aurelius said, if it is humanly possible, consider it too within your reach. And the way that I interpret that is if somebody else can do it, you can too, right? Like if another human being can do something in this lifetime, you're just as much capable as that person because he's a human being just like you. So, anyways, good work, brother. I'll talk to you later, okay?
All right. Thank you, sir. See you,
Peace out, buddy.
man.